Nancy Pelosi's time has come to an end. On Thursday, November 17th, after 20 years of leading the Democratic Party, U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said that she will step down as House Democratic leader, but she will continue to represent her San Francisco district in the House. Her decision comes a day after Republicans officially won control of the chamber in the midterm elections. Pelosi, who was elected to Congress in 1987 and who became the highest-ranking woman in congressional history when she was elected House Minority Whip after the 2002 midterm elections, became House Minority Leader in 2003, and she was promoted to Speaker of the House in 2006 after Democrats regained the majority in the House. After the U.S. Republicans won control of the House, there was much speculation about where Pelosi would go. Drew Hamill, a spokesman for Pelosi, said that Pelosi's phone has been ringing off the hook lately because of the many people who have expressed concern. Hamill confessed that since November 16th, she's been monitoring the counting of the final state election results, and she was overwhelmed by calls from colleagues, friends, and supporters. The departure of Pelosi at 82 years old is expected to usher in a major reshuffle of the House Democratic leadership. Pelosi's leadership team includes Majority Leader Steny Hoyer of Maryland and Democrat James Clyburn of South Carolina. They are all over 80 years old. Following Pelosi's announcement, Hoyer, who currently serves as House Majority Leader, said that he will not run for leadership in the next Congress. Hoyer said in his statement, "It's time to produce a new generation of leaders." He added that he will support Representative Hakeem Jeffries. House Democrats will hold leadership elections at the end of this month, and Pelosi's announcement is likely to set off a wave of leadership bid announcements. Representative Hakeem Jeffries, a Democrat in New York, could succeed Pelosi as House Democratic leader. Jeffries would become the first African American to lead the Democratic Party in Congress. There's speculation that Pelosi's decision is related to the attack on her husband, Paul Pelosi. At least that's what she said last week. But there are still some mysteries surrounding the attack that have not yet been solved. For example, who opened the door when the police showed up? The Justice Department's indictment against David DePepe, the man who apparently attacked Paul Pelosi, says that the officer who responded to Paul Pelosi's 911 call knocked on the door. Then the two officers who approached the door activated the body cameras that they were carrying. The door opened and the two officers saw the foyer of Pelosi's home. Mr. Pelosi was in a long-sleeve shirt and David DePepe was in shorts, running shoes, and a sweatshirt. And David DePepe and Mr. Pelosi were holding a hammer together, but it didn't indicate who opened the door. Later, NBC reported that a source who had seen the body cam footage said it clearly showed Paul Pelosi open the door. Information obtained by the Epoch Times also indicated that Paul Pelosi opened the door. Assistant District Attorney Allison Garbutt Macbeth's November 1st filing in the case also clearly states that Mr. Pelosi opened the door with his left hand. In a motion to detain Pepe, San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins' office also said that Paul Pelosi opened the door to Pelosi's California home after police arrived early October 28th. To date, there has been no public statement from local San Francisco law enforcement or the Department of Justice as to why there are so many discrepancies between the various accounts of the events of that night. Why would the DOJ want to cover up the fact that it was Paul Pelosi who opened the door? Republicans plan to take numerous actions after winning control of the House in the 2022 midterm elections. Republican House members held a news conference on Thursday, November 17th, and the first investigation they announced was into Hunter Biden. The Republicans indicated that Joe Biden was actively involved in overseas business deals with his son Hunter. Republican Representatives James Comer and Jim Jordan hosted the press conference. Comer said, citing whistleblower evidence, that Joe Biden was directly involved in Hunter's international business dealings. Committee Republicans released a report on November 17th outlining their findings, claiming that they've uncovered evidence of federal crimes committed by or to the benefit of the Biden family. Comer said this committee will evaluate the status of Joe Biden's relationship with his family's foreign partners and whether he is a president who is compromised or swayed by foreign dollars and influence.
Today we're going to provide you with something that you all aren't used to with respect to congressional investigations, and that's evidence. Committee Republicans have spoken with multiple whistleblowers from numerous schemes involving the Biden family, reviewed Hunter Biden's laptop, and received documents of previously unknown transactions. What we found are business plans aimed at targets around the world based on influence peddling, including with people closely tied to foreign governments like China and Russia. We also found plans based in the United States where the Biden family swindled investors of hundreds of thousands of dollars, all with Joe Biden's participation and knowledge.
Citing media reports, Comer said more than 150 transactions from the Biden's business dealings have been flagged by U.S. banks through filings of suspicious activity reports, or SARs. Committee Republicans have pressed the Treasury Department to release the SARs records, but the department has refused. They'll continue to pursue those records in the new Congress, Comer said, when the Republicans hold subpoena power. Comer is the new chairman of the House Oversight Committee, and Jordan of Ohio is expected to soon become chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. At a news conference, Comer said that he believes the Oversight Committee has lost much of its credibility in recent years, which he blamed on Representative Adam Schiff. Schiff currently chairs the House Intelligence Committee. Without the cooperation of the Justice Department, congressional investigations tend to be loud in terms of noise, but without much actual action. The big investigation into Hillary's Benghazi scandal back in the day is an example of this. But this year is a little different because the Democrats have just set the precedent, that is, the January 6th committee. The January 6th committee issued subpoenas to Republicans to turn over their cell phone, bank, and communication records. Those who refuse to turn them in are sentenced for contempt of Congress. This gives the Republican Party a good reference. They can totally follow it this time as well.
My feeling is that Joe Biden is highly compromised. Why else would we cancel the China initiative, the DOJ program designed to investigate China's theft of our intellectual property from colleges and universities? It made no sense whatsoever. There's only one explanation. Joe Biden is compromised.
Well, that was Senator Ron Johnson on this program last week on the impact of Biden family influence peddling, which reportedly goes back many decades, by the way. My next guests announced on Thursday that the House will pick up where the Senate left off in looking at the 150 suspicious activity reports flagged by the major banks of the Biden family bank accounts after years of making millions by offering foreigners access to their family and inroads into acquisitions in America. Joining me right now is the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, and the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, Jim Jordan. Both are expected to assume the role of the chairman of those respective committees. Good morning to you both, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here.
Morning.
Good morning.
James Comer, let me kick this off with you and get your take on this 150 suspicious activity reports. Most people will never get a suspicious activity report, right? What is it, and how come they were flagged by the banks?
99.99% of Americans will never get a suspicious activity report. These were created after September 11th for the government to be able to track suspicious foreign transactions coming in to fund terror sales. It's expanded over time to help law enforcement track things like money laundering. But when a bank files a suspicious activity report, that's the bank notifying the federal government that we're pretty certain our client has committed a crime. Hunter Biden and Jim Biden have at least 150 of these. We believe Joe Biden's name was on some of those accounts. That's why we want them. But the suspicious activity reports are very detailed as to why the bank suspected that criminal activity was taking place by the Bidens.
Well, look, I've said it from day one. This is not a Hunter Biden story. This is a Joe Biden story because they were basically selling access to Joe Biden. We know we have all the emails, the big guy email where Joe Biden was supposed to be holding 10% equity into CEFC, the Chinese energy company. How are we supposed to trust that the commander-in-chief of America is going to make the right decisions on behalf of America when he's taking in all of this money? Hunter Biden's been paying his bills. That also is indicative that he was clearly the one that they were selling.
Right. That's very troubling. what we showed at the press conference was a map of the United States in Chinese, where all the natural gas distributors were highlighted. And the business model that Hunter Biden was presenting to the Chinese was a way for China to come in and not only buy liquefied natural gas from America, but also to start buying ownership in the drillers so that China could start taking ownership in our American energy company. And remember, we also showed emails and text messages that showed Joe Biden was going to be a 10% equity owner in this business. He was even going to have office space in this business. This is very troubling at a time when America is faced with record high energy prices because of bad policies from this administration.
Well, we want to know what you all are going to do about it, because Jim Jordan, what did we hear on Friday from Merrick Garland, the Attorney General? The DOJ lead person puts a special counsel on the Trump investigations. Yeah. Where is the special counsel on the Biden family influence peddling?
Yeah. Well, I think it's just one more example of how political the Justice Department has become, and it's why 14 whistleblowers have come and told us that, 14 FBI agents. But I want to go.
We're going to subpoena whoever the investigation leads us to subpoena. We're serious about this. We're going to start with the bank records. We need those bank records. You've seen countless emails and text messages where Hunter has complained about having to keep his father up. There's no question that Joe Biden was receiving benefit from Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden's only source of income were our adversaries in China and Russia. So this is very concerning. The American people deserve answers. We deserve to know if we have a White House that's compromised by China, and that's going to be our priority in the House Oversight Committee.
Well, talk to us about these transactions, because, you know, they've tried to leak to the press that Hunter Biden is going to be charged with tax issues. Is it because he wasn't paying taxes on all of the money that Chinese officials and Ukrainian officials and Russian officials were wiring into his account?
Right. Yeah. He has at least a $2 million tax bill with the IRS. I don't know how many people you know that owe the IRS over $2 million, but Hunter Biden is one of them. But honestly, Maria, the tax evasion is the least of Hunter Biden's problems. And my fear is if the DOJ indicts Hunter Biden, then that will essentially protect him from a congressional subpoena from the House Oversight Committee. So I'm not advocating for Hunter Biden to be indicted. I'm not advocating for a special counsel, because I believe that if the Treasury Cabinet and if the banks will work with us, we'll be able to get answers to the most important questions on the House Oversight.
Jim Jordan, how did this happen? How did the DOJ and the FBI become so politicized? We know what they did around the Russia collusion story. They had no evidence of any collusion with Trump, and yet they pursued FISA warrants to spy and surveil people within the Trump world aggressively.
I don't know how it happened, but I know it has to change, because America is the greatest country in history, but we're not America. America is not America if you have a Justice Department that treats people differently under the law. It's not supposed to work that way, and it's why 14 agents have come talk to us as whistleblowers, and what they have said is at the highest levels, not the rank and file, but at the Washington field office of the FBI, at the highest levels of the Justice Department, that's where the politics is. One of these agents said it's rotted at its core. That's how bad it is. So, look, remember this, too, if you need any more...